I'll probably do like a minute talk, and then we'll just go right into there from there. Because I don't pre-record it. I usually just go with it on the fly. I got to get up the analog clock. We'll do that right now because we had everybody set up to go into space. So we are live right now, but I'm just going to give everybody like a minute or two to hop in. I can pull up my analog clock now. Always account for unaccountable variables, right? That's one of my fantasy advices for people, you know?
Exactly.
Good recovery. Good recovery.
I do appreciate you all being here. Let's see. Analog clock, time.net. Which one is it? I think it's that one. Yeah, well, you know, we'll just keep the timer on, and we'll just roll with the clock, and you know, keep it lighthearted, have a good time with it all, and you know, we'll pull up the punches. Everybody got the script right? Did everybody get a chance to look at it?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
We are good.
All right. I'll pull this up. Rhythm off, and then I'll tell everybody. Starting now. Waiting on JC to hop in. There he is right there, I think. We'll get JC up here as well. This is my guy that usually does the fans. If y'all aren't familiar with him, this is JC. JC, can you hear us?
Yeah, what's up, guys?
Good.
Appreciate y'all being here. Gotta love when things go wrong like this, but great recovery by
I'm sure we've all done. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right, so I got it ready. You ready to go, JC? I don't know how it's really gonna work. We've never done it like this, okay, guys? But we're gonna get going.
Are you streaming to YouTube? Are you streaming directly to Twitter?
It's directly on Twitter. I don't know how to, you know, go in there and pin it because everything was set up through there. I got it pinned right now. Let's see, pinned to the profile.
Is it pinned? If it's pinned to your profile, then it should be good. Then we should be able to share it.
Yeah, if you could just go on the space and tell them it's not working. And then I guess I'm going to try to play music still and see how that works. So, guys, we're going to get the show going, starting now.
Welcome to the Sunday Sports Game Show, brought to you the game show for the people. Now, your EG.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. We are welcome to the 7th episode. It's the last Sunday of the month. That includes being Final Fantasy. I'm so proud of it. We discussed, and it is IDP. You know, a lot of these people have been in the industry playing IDP a long time, over a decade. We got #1 rankers. We got people writing articles for 10 plus years. Let's get started to it. This is the show where what you say matters. It counts, and how you say it does matter. And this is brought to you by the Sports Affiliation. Make sure you go follow them if you get a chance. They're over there at the Sports Affiliate. Let's get right down to it, everybody. We got a trivia show here for you. Always start off with trivia, guys. I'm 6-0, so I take a lot of pride in this. I'm going to pull the timer up, and we'll get started. The question is, this linebacker has had 115 more tackles in the past 4 seasons, and he has 90 tackles for 3+ teams. Who is he? 5 points. Tough one. 115 tackles. 3+ teams. We're at 4 seconds. 1 second. Oh, good guess. I'm glad you threw one out there. That means that we are, nobody's got it. That's 7-0. Yeah. Man, what domination over here. I'm proud of myself. The answer is Jordan Hicks. Jordan Hicks, everybody. What are your thoughts on Jordan Hicks before we get to the question?
I should have had that.
Any thoughts on Jordan Hicks at all as a player this year? Is he one of the most underrated linebackers, IDP players that we've seen? Anybody got any comments on that?
Curious to see what his role looks like this year, because Minnesota was scaling his snaps back toward the end of last season in favor of Asamoah, but now Eric Kendricks is gone, so I think we could see Hicks's role bump up back up to what it was at the beginning of last year.
Love it, Gary. Love it. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think you saw towards the middle of last year, Hicks kind of playing a little bit more in coverage than we were used to seeing him in previous seasons. But then that kind of returned back to the norm as the season went on, and you kind of saw, depending on your fantasy scoring settings, him kind of return to the mean in terms of output there. But no, everything Gary just said is 100% spot on there.
Love it. Love it, man. Yeah, so we got a special show for you. I want to introduce everybody. We got Nate, Jorge, Leo, and Gary, man. I'd like everybody just to introduce themselves, talk about how long you played IDP, why people should be playing IDP, and, what you write for, what you do, if you don't mind just breaking it down, and we'll go in that order. So, Nate, you're up first.
Yeah, I've actually probably been playing the least of this group. It's a pretty stellar group, by the way, too. But, yeah, this is will be my 4th year covering IDP for Fantasy and Frames. Jorge has allowed me to take the reins there and be the director of the IDP content and carry that hopefully into an ever evolving landscape for the brand as well as for all of us for IDP. And so, yeah, it's awesome to be in the company of the guys here. And we have I think personally from an IDP standpoint, through Twitter and everything else, man, our group, our niche is as strong as anyone out there and quite humble at that.
I agree. I totally agree. Well said, Nate. Okay, Jorge, you're next. Tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
So I run Fantasy and Frames, fantasyandframes.com. Been playing IDP for 10 years. Just love it. I just could never go back to playing offense only. I just love the idea of just having both sides of the ball represented and understanding and learning and becoming a sponge when it comes to IDP fantasy football as well as just football in general. As Nate said, he runs our IDP stuff over at Fantasy and Frames and just does a great job and just love spreading the word about the greatness that is IDP. We've been sponsors of the IDP panel over at the Fantasy Football Expo for the past 3 years. So we're very proud of sponsoring that and just bringing IDP to the masses.
Yeah, and if you're just listening, I met most of these people at the expo, and y'all were on the panel. I thought it was the best panel of the 3 I went to, so I'm very much looking forward to that again. And Jorge, thank you, man. Glad to have you here. Up next, Leo, the #1 ranker of 2022 on the show. So glad to have you back on, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and why you like IDP.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Iggy. My name's Leo. You can, I'm Master IDP on Twitter. I have a company I started in December called RPO Football. I've been playing in IDP leagues for 11 years, but this is my first year on the content creation side, and it's been a blast. Wasn't expecting to have as much success and be welcomed by the community. It's been really great. So, I really kind of enjoy. I'm more a data guy. I like the numbers. So, rankings was really right up my alley, and I was happy to have success and it kind of, lucky to be part of this group and welcome so early. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely, Leo. I've been basically interacting. Came out like Javon Curse, if you will, or Lawrence Taylor. You came out hot out the gun, pressuring people off the go. I love it, my friend. I love it. Up next, Gary, man, glad to have you on the show. Of course, please tell us a little bit about yourself, why people should play IDP. And guys, this is our guru. If you're not aware of it, he's our IDP guy. So let us know, Gary.
Glad to be here. I've been playing IDP for a while. I don't really want to say it. Just makes me feel old. I'm a senior staff writer at Fantasy Sharks, right at Bleacher Report, IDP writer at Football Guys, IDP writer at NBC Sports Edge, do some IDP work for The Athletic, and IDP Sharks on Twitter. Every time people ask me where I work, I'm afraid that I'm going to leave someone out and they're going to get mad at me. So love IDP, love the growth that I've seen in the community over the 15 years or so that I've been writing, and just glad to be here.
Man, thank you guys. I've been looking. I've secretly, when I created this show, I had this IDP concept in mind, and hopefully we can do it again when we get closer to the season. But thank you guys so much for being here. I've been playing for 13 years with IDP. It's hard for me to imagine not playing with them. Of course, I do play in a couple leagues without it, but this is the fun stuff. You need to be playing with IDP because you wouldn't just buy one shoe. You don't go to the department store and be like, I just want the left shoe. No, you want both pairs of shoes. Let's get those feet to dancing, or in our case, cleats. We want both sets of cleats on to play fantasy football. So I encourage you to play with IDP. First question on the docket. We're going to go in that same order. Nate, Jorge, Leo, and then Gary. It's okay if you use the same answer. Okay, just make sure you give reason into why. That's all right with me. So you're going to have 30 seconds on the clock. I usually have a double bell that you can hear pretty well. This is a little quieter. We're still going with it. Which player makes the largest jump in year 2? So which rookie will have the best year 2? Starting with you, Nate, and you are on the clock.
Kyle Hamilton. Number one, you start with smarts. He's a Mensa student, Mensa, I guess, advocate and attendee. What we saw last year is we had this expectation of a DB2, DB3 upside. Really, it took until about week 14 for him to see significant slot snaps, which was escalating his production. In that time, he was 101 overall. Expectations for this following season is, for me, I think he has can replicate what he did from weeks 14 on, be a DB2, DB3. He was in that time, third and is that what that is?
Yeah. That's your time right there. It cuts you off. That's okay, though. So here we are. Going to give you a point there. You can hear the timer. I do love that. I did draft him in one of my leagues last year. I expected a little more from him. But here's the board just so everybody can see at home. You've all gotten the point so far just for being here. Nate, I gave you 1 just because I liked your initial answer. Could have gave you 2, but you went over the timer. That's okay. That's okay. Jorge, you're up next, and it starts now.
All right, so we all know how thin defensive linemen can get. Again, true defensive lineman. That's why I'm rolling with Aiden Hutchinson. Had a great year, weeks 10 through 18, 17.2% win rate, which is second best. All rookie defensive lineman, 11.9% pressure rate. And you really start to see him take off around week 12. Down the stretch, rookies, they start, getting a little bit more fatigued as the season goes on. But you also saw the emergence of his teammate, James Houston. When those two went together, Hutchinson had 22% pressures, 5 sacks to end the season. He could play against the run.
There's your time. Both sitting on the time limit. I go ahead and gave you 2 points there, Jorge, just because, if he's got the bar set high, right? But you're still saying he could jump higher. I think the Lions, I covered them last night. They've signed 4 DBs so far this year. So I do love that answer. Leo, you're up next, and your time starts right now.
I'm going to go with Nakobe Dean. The question is, who's going to have the largest jump? And it's, pretty easy to jump from 13 tackles from last year. TJ Edwards is gone. Kaiser White's gone. Opportunities there. I'm not too worried about Nicholas Morrow. He may, cut into him, but he's on a 1-year contract. And I really think, Nakobe Dean, he's got a prime opportunity to really jump and get a big number of tackles this year. Don't want to go over.
Boom, right underneath the time limit. Giving you 2 points there, Leo, just because I like the answer. There's a lot of opportunities. I love opportunities for fantasy points. All right. Gary, you're on the clock, and it starts right now.
Yeah, Leo took my answer. You got to go with the Kobe Dean. You're talking about the biggest year 2 jump. And like you guys said, it's just a matter of opportunity. Last year he was kind of buried behind White and TJ Edwards. This year, Morrow's okay. He's a decent coverage linebacker, but he's not like any kind of a defensive force. Dean's going to play 80+% of the snaps, and he's triple-digit tackles is an easy ask. So, yeah, sky's the limit with the kid. He was my top off-ball linebacker prospect last year.
All right. I love it. All right. So the Dean seems to be popular favorite there. Usually we go over the fans' responses right here. We get quite a bit. I know Mace and the Steve Outlaw and some of those other guys are really looking forward to it. We'll have to go back and see what they have to say about some of that one. But after the first question, I got Nate 2, Jorge 3, Gary 2, and Leo 3. All right. Coming up with Dean first. Probably would have gave you more, Gary, if I jumped on it, but you gave good reasoning. Question number 2. Which offseason move thus far will have the biggest fantasy impact? We're going to go Gary, Leo, Jorge, Nate. So, Gary, you're on the clock first. Nobody can steal your answer, and start in now.
I'm going to go Bobby Okereke to the New York Giants. 151 tackles last year with the Colts and did not play every down. He came off the field at times. This year, going to be locked into an every down role for a Giants team that badly needed off-ball linebacker help, averaging over 140 tackles a season the last 2 years. A top 10 is easily attainable.
Agreed. And under time to spare. I love that, Gary. Going to give you another point for that. You left us a lot of data out there with time to spare on it. Good points right there. Up next, we have Leo. Start in now.
So I'm going to go the opposite way, and I'm going to say the biggest fantasy impact is going negative, and I'm going to say it's for Jack Sanborn. So Chicago revamped that whole linebacker group, and they brought in Tremaine Edmonds and T.J. Edwards, and they even brought in Dylan Cole. So I'm going to go the opposite way and say they just revamped that whole thing, and Sanborn is a big down. So I know you might think of going up, but Sanborn really got hurt by that. So big fantasy impact, but it's also fantasy impact for all the guys.
I love it. Definitely caught me by surprise there. Gave you 1 point for your answer. I think I got to give you one more just for keeping me on my toes right there. Great answer. Jorge, you're up next, my friend, and it starts right now.
I'm going to go with Caden Ellis last year for the Saints when he finally was utilized both rushing the passer and as a run stopper. He had 17 total pressures, 21.3% pressure rate. His run defense tackle rate was 16.4, just amazing. Going to Atlanta now. They're going to be using him along with either Troy Anderson or Michael Walker. And no disrespect to Lorenzo Carter or Arnold Ebiketie, but Ellis is going to clean up.
Love it. And time to spare. Ellis, man, he shot out of nowhere. I remember when Gary had him written down as his waiver wire pickup of the week last season. So great answer right there, Jorge. Gave you another point on top of that. Nate, man, you got some work to do. Let's see if we can get you in here. Your time starts right now.
That is Ogbo Okoronkwo heading over to Cleveland. Last year, 16.5 pressure rate, second amongst PFF's PRP grade. From weeks 13 to 18 on, he was 12th in the NFL in sacks, 8th in solo tackles amongst defensive ends. He was 10th in passes defense, 10th in pressures, tied with his new teammate Myles Garrett. Add in Dalvin Tomlinson in the middle, and you have a DB2 upside this year.
Man, what time to spare.
Ooh, even the correction.
Love it. And who knows? Is Cleveland gonna, are they gonna have be playing, ahead a lot of games? I don't know. I don't think they're gonna be just up ahead a lot. So I think there's a lot of potential there for him as well to see that opportunity. Gonna go ahead and give you one more point, man. You guys are making this very difficult for me. I think this is the first time we've had a complete tie across the board here. We got all fives headed into the third question right here, and that question is: which rookie could? We don't know where any of these guys are going. I'm really big on placement, coaching, etc. But just to put you guys on the spot and see you can have a good answer, which rookie could be a top 12 scorer at their position? We're going to go Leo, Gary, Nate, Jorge. This is to go to the elimination round, so think wise. On the clock.
Okay. I'm going to go with Will Anderson. He's the best talent there. I really like his 10-yard split. He's at 1.61. Had great college production at Alabama, especially 2021. He had 17.5 sacks and 31 tackles for a loss and over 100 tackles. So he's got production at sacks, tackles. Defensive end is probably the best chance to get somebody in the top 10, I think, even though Jalen Petrie got it last year. So I'm going with Will Anderson, best talent, best production.
Oh, right at the buzzer. Awesome. I love the answer. Grab the low-hanging fruit. No punishment for that whatsoever. Keep in mind, I do want to say this is going to be just like the Butkus format, so you can go any position, true position format, not like a hybrid position. You get to take your pick of the litter in all of this, okay? So coming back, we do have Gary. You're on the clock, and it starts now.
Frankly, I don't know that any of this year's rookie class is going to be a top 12 guy or top 10 guy, but I'm going to go with a cornerback, Joey Porter Jr. I think he's a guy that's going to live. He gets a landing spot where he can have early playing time, which is very possible. He's got the tackling ability to put up decent tackle numbers. And the rookie corner rule, opposing quarterbacks love to go after those first-year corners. So he's got a shot at pulling a Tariq Woolen and finishing in the top 10 at his position.
Love it. Going deep in the bag, going to position. Sometimes neglected in the IDP world. I do love that, Gary. Up next, we do have Nate. Nate, you're on the clock, and it starts right now.
As Leo said, sometimes it's hard for anybody to get into the top 12. Last year, we saw 2 of these safeties, 1 in Jalen Petrie and 2 in Jaquan Brisker. This year's going to be Brian Branch, plays the line of scrimmage. Over his career at Alabama, 4 missed tackles, over 174 attempts. That's a 2% missed tackle rate. That does give coaches, I would say, the opportunity to put him at the line of scrimmage and finish 12th.
It is hard, man. It is hard. That's a rookie impact to come out. You know, I talked about Javon Curse and Lawrence Taylor. Those guys are the exception, not the rule. All right, Jorge, let's see what you can do here. Maybe get yourself into the final, and your time starts now, sir.
Now, when we're talking about top 12 performances, we want to pick the players that are going to give you the stats that are quote unquote easy to come by. It doesn't get much easier than tackles, which is why I'm going Jack Campbell, linebacker, Iowa, 2022, 123 total tackles, 14.1% tackle rate. 67% of his tackles were solo. Go back to 2021, 139 tackles, 68 were solo. Again, consistency. Give me that tackle floor. Give me the consistency. Jack Campbell.
Man, right under the time, too. I love it, Jorge. Man, that's a tough one. As it sits right now, I think I got to give the edge. It's basically between Jorge and Nate, because I think Gary had a great answer with the cornerback right there. No offense, Leo. It's the hard part being the host. I think I got to go Nate right here, articulating it well, going with the guy that he thinks has potential at the safety, backing it up with some statistics last year. So, Jorge, Leo, man, I appreciate it. I wish I could have you guys go to the elimination round. Please stick around. At the end of the show, we're going to come back and talk a little bit of IDP, talk about a little Dick Butkus, have a little fun with the fantasy, maybe talk a little expo. But as it goes, man, that's the hard
I
part of the show.
protest. No, just kidding.
You wouldn't be the first. You wouldn't be the first. You wouldn't be the first.
That's
Definitely has potential.
Good luck, guys.
Kind of felt like that was the easy answer there. So moving on with the most points, Gary, you have the tiebreaker over Nate. So the question coming up, coming at you, you each get 30 seconds. You don't get a choice. Whatever the first person takes, the second person has to take the other answer, and it'll flip-flop. So Gary will go first this round. Nate, you'll go first on the second. Gary, you'll go first on the third question. All right, getting right down to it. The first 2 options. Who are going to have a better fantasy football season, Roquan Smith or Nick Bolton? Gary, you're on the clock, and it starts now.
Got to go Roquan Smith. You're getting similar tackle numbers as Bolton with a lot more big play upside. Bolton did outscore Roquan last year slightly, but Smith switched teams in the middle of the year and was still a top 5 guy. Roquan all day.
All right, with plenty of time to spare on that, let me reset the clock. Nate, that means you have to take Nick Bolton. Look at this jam. On the clock.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I watch Nick Bolton play every down of every game, and the one thing that he has excelled at this year or last year and grown into is the coverage ability. And that coverage as the linebacker, he has finished amongst the tops amongst all linebackers. And what's going to change this year? Nothing. Kansas City's still going to have the lead. Other teams are going to have to pass. Bolton has shown that despite what we thought of Steve Spagnuolo, he's going to play.
On the clock right there, Nate. Man, this is a tough one for me. I think from the reasoning that you gave, both of them, you're saying coverage. Gary's saying big play opportunity. When I think about that, I think they're, like you said, you tried to sneak it in, Kansas City being ahead, but who's Baltimore's quarterback going to be? If it's not Lamar, Roquan's going to see a lot of more expensive snaps, in my opinion. I think I got to give the edge to Roquan right here, even though, man, Nick Bolton's a man after my own heart being on my dynasty team. I hope he has a great year. That means coming up, Nate, with the belt over the shoulder, you get to take the pick between Hassan Reddick or Myles Garrett, and your time starts now, sir.
It's Myles Garrett. Here we're talking about a guy who not only has had 10-plus sacks in each season, 16-plus sacks in back-to-back years. Tackle volume has increased year over year. You add in Dalvin Tomlinson, OGOK, a 25% win rate in 3 of the past 5 seasons. Let's put this into perspective, you guys. Since 2018, there have been 7 occurrences of 25% win rate by any player. Myles Garrett is 3 of those times.
Man, with some time to spare on this one, gave some pretty convincing argument there, Gary. You got to take Hassan Reddick. And your time starts right now.
Killing me as a Browns fan, man. Killing me.
And a Bolton, sorry.
Reddick put up 16 sacks last year. We've seen him put up 60-plus tackles a couple times in the past. So, I mean, if I would have had to pick between the two, I'm going to go Garrett too. But it's not inconceivable that Reddick could outpoint him this year playing on a stacked. That Eagles front is loaded.
I love it. Yeah, there are some departures there. It's interesting you didn't mention that, Gary. Myles Garrett never can seem to play a full season for me. He always misses at least like 7/8 of one game. I think I do got to tilt this to Garrett. I mean, on a full level playing field, we just talked about we're not sure what Cleveland's going to be offensively. So it's going to be notched up coming down the stretch. All right, Gary, you get your first pick of this. Nate, you get to have the champions recover there. Get the counter punch. And I left this one blank, so I went deep on this one, looking for a little bit of deeper pick on this between you two. And I went, okay. And I got Christian Wilkins or DeForest Buckner. Gary, it starts with you, and it starts right now.
Oh, scoring is going to matter a lot here. If the league tilts towards sacks, then I think you could give an edge to Buckner. I'm going to go with Wilkins, a guy that I like in defensive tackle required leagues, because of that. The tackle floor is just so nice to have in IDP leagues. He's going to go out there and throw up a ridiculous 70, 80 stops. And that consistency can be hard to come by that defensive tackle. So give me Wilkins.
Wilkins, the Miami Dolphin with 4 seconds to spare. I love it. Nate, you're on the clock. You must take DeForest Buckner for the championship. What you got?
Exactly like Gary was saying, a lot of scoring. Most scoring outputs do give the benefit to the sacks. And let's look back since 2018 with San Francisco. He's had at least 7 sacks in each one of those consistent seasons, at least 58 tackles combined, and at least 9 tackles for a loss with 14 plus kill rec hits in each season. Consistency is king. Last year might have been a little bit of a down year, but I expect a rebound. DeForest Buckner is a beast.
Man, I love it. So, I was looking at the Butkus points. I think Wilkins has a great chance to be a great defensive tackle in this format. I'm going to be targeting. He has big boom games. Buckner has the steady production. Oh, man. I think I got to go with Nate here. I got to give the edge to Nate right here with the championship coming out. Came out ready with some Buckner stats. He had a little bit more time to prepare, but he utilized it. Nate, the floor is yours, man, for the first ever IDP championship. Congratulations. What would you like to say?
I would say that I thought that winning this belt for the 4-Eyed Championship was my most, I'd say, impressive victory of the season. It's no longer. Unfortunately, taking down 3 of the people who I respect the most in this, at least 3 of the most. I don't want to insult anybody in this space. I mean, I have the number 1 ranker, fantastic job. I have the number 1 IDP godfather, and I have my boss, so I have to kiss his ass too. Just kidding. I love you anyway. But it was, I mean, yeah, I had time to kind of prep for that, but it hurt me with the Bolton one. I would have taken Roquan too.
Well, you both kind of tilted on your own player there. You took Garrett. Gary, man, I wanted to give it to you. I really did. I just think Nate came in strong with the Buckner. I happen to be a Christian Wilkins fan. I'm targeting him in our upcoming Kings Classic Dick Butkus draft, so be prepared for that. But congratulations, way to make it to the final round. And just thoughts yourself on IDP, any of these guys we talked about, anything in general IDP, man.
No, just looking forward to another season. Got a new class of rookies coming in. We got all these players that have changed teams. Summer, it seems like it's good forever away, but we'll be in the neck deep in fantasy draft season before you know it. And I draft probably now. Time I get done with that, it'll be time to start firing up magazine stuff. It's a year-round gig. I love it.
It is year-round. I do love football. Football is king, and we got a lot to talk about the defensive side of the ball because we got to educate the people. Jorge, Leo, please, when y'all come back, let's just go ahead and we'll wrap it up with Leo and go to Jorge next. Guys, please come back in and just anything you'd like to say about anything about those guys in the elimination round that you would have said differently or, just an IDP in general. Go ahead, Leo.
Yeah, great. Congratulations, Nate and Gary. Great competition here. The one thing about Roquan Smith, I mean, he actually, I've researched him recently, and he hasn't had a defensive forced fumble or a defensive fumble recovery in his 5 years, which was surprising to me that he didn't have more. So when Gary said he had all this turnovers. There's probably more on the interception side than the fumbles. So, that was surprising. But I was surprised that Nick Bolton only had like one in his couple years. So a little surprising those stud linebackers didn't have a little bit more. But congrats to these guys. I'm looking forward to this next season. Already kind of digging into these rookies. I got done with my tax season, my busy time at work, so I'm ready to roll. IDP for life.
There we go. I do love it. Yeah. Roquan, I just, when I put that together, I look at that tackling machines and I kind of look at it, what exactly Gary and Nate said. I felt like Roquan may have a lot of opportunities, even if Lamar is there. And then the Chiefs are probably still going to play with the lead. There's potential for Bolton to improve his coverage, maybe get a few pass deflections and so forth. Jorge, man, competitive. Anything to say about any of those guys in the final elimination round or just in general about IDP?
Yeah, well, first of all, congrats, Nate. Congrats, Gary, for making it to the finals. We talk about interceptions for Bolton. He got the one that mattered in the Super Bowl now. Let's not forget about that. That was a pick six. So that didn't forget. I feel very honored. Gary, obviously all the work you've done. Nate, yours. Leo, congrats on your number one ranking season this past year. Just, we love IDP, love talking about IDP. We'll never not stress the value of how important it is to the community, how much value it could provide football fans in general. So very, very honored to be with this group, and thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, Jorge, guys. That's just what I wanted to say. Most of the time we have fan comments. A little disappointed because I wanted to get Mason here and, outlaw some of these other guys. I know they wanted to do it. They just said they had other things going on as well. And, don't worry. We're going to get another IDP show. Every last Sunday of the month is, the sports affiliation. We get to have it. We're going to talk Final Fantasy one way or another. I guarantee we're going to have another IDP show. Next week's First Football First. We're going to have some more wonderful guests breaking it down, just see this kind of same thing you got going on. I do want to thank all of you gentlemen so much for on your Sunday coming on. I think it's going to be a great show. It all kind of started at the Expo. I met several of you guys at the Expo. Leo, I think I was the first person you ever did an interview with or hopped on with. So the connections here are deep. Just to go back to Jorge and Nate's point, the IDP community is overall very friendly. Not that fantasy football, oriented people kind of community, but IDP especially, we look after each other, man. And I'm really glad to have you guys here. I just want to say thank you for all being here. And we're going to do it next week. So once again, go follow these guys at Nate Markham, at Jorge B. Edwards, at IDP Sharks. For JC Money and I, this is brought to you by the Sports Affiliation. Have some music. Just going to say thank you so much for participating. We will be back next Sunday. Until then, bet smart, be lucky, and play with IDP, baby. You want to do it. You won't go back. Until then, take care, everybody.